Hello everyone. Good morning. I hope you're doing well today. I hope that you're ready to start the day. If you're not, it's totally fine. Maybe listening to this podcast will help you do just that. So in this episode, we are going to be learning about the chickadees. There are 7 chickadee species, and each one of them is so unique. But before we get into this episode, we are going to ground ourselves and kind of relax a little bit. So if you would pause for a moment and just kind of do these breathing exercises with me, it's gonna help you a lot. So if you're ready, breathe in. Hold for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. Breathe in. Hold for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. Last time, breathe in. Hold for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. I hope that it helped you to relax, and I hope you're ready to get into this episode. I think chickadees are just adorable creatures. They have this kind of distinctive dark cap on their head and near their neck area, and also white cheeks. I feel like that is what makes them so cute to look at. I have 3 pictures of chickadees that I'm looking at right now, and I feel like they are just fluffballs sitting on top of branches. So as I said, there are 7 chickadee species in North America, and they all have this kind of dark cap and cheeks, white cheeks. The most common species of chickadees are black-capped chickadees, Carolina chickadees, and mountain chickadees. So the Carolina and the black-capped chickadee kind of look very similar, so they're very hard to distinguish. The black-capped chickadee has some yellowish tinge to its feathers, while the Carolina chickadee doesn't. But looking at the mountain chickadee here, it does not look very similar to the other 2 because they don't have this kind of black cap on their head, but they do have a black stripe in their eye area. Their fur also is very grayed out. I think it's kind of the camouflage in the mountainous trees. They kind of live in the coniferous forests, particularly pine, mixed conifer, juniper, spruce fir, and pinyon juniper forests. Wow, that is a lot of forests that they visit. But one thing that's cool about them is during winter, they sometimes inhabit river bottoms. I haven't researched a lot about it, but river bottoms kind of seems very cool for a bird to be in. They're not particularly water-dwelling birds, but I don't know, maybe they go there for food. I will look into that later. So, moving on, we have our second fact. These small birds can live a relatively long life. The oldest banded black-capped chickadee in the wild lived 12 years and 5 months, while the oldest banded Carolina chickadee in the wild lived 10 years and 11 months. Compared to other birds, these birds do live a long life. I don't know the exact kind of lifespan of these chickadees, but looking at what the researchers have found, 12 years seems like the most that they live. That's kind of similar to the lifespan of a cat and a dog. I feel like that's pretty cool for a bird. Our third fact is the black-capped chickadee is the state bird of Maine and Massachusetts. Ooh. I don't know why they made it their state bird, but maybe they just thought it was very cute. I don't know. Maybe it has a different history there. Our next fact, chickadees are named after their distinctive call. So if you've ever listened to a chickadee's call before, you will notice that sometimes there is only one D at the end of the chickadee. So that's why they're named chickadee, because they kind of do this distinctive call, chickadee. But if there's only one D at the end, it means they're just living a normal life and kind of just singing out, I guess. But if there are multiple D's at the end, it signifies a much greater meaning. So we are looking at the research of Christopher Templeton of the University of Washington. So he is said to have cracked the chickadee code. So it's kind of like a alarm system or an alert system that they kind of invented, I guess, the chickadees, to kind of alert their own species and other birds of incoming predators. So Christopher Templeton found that a lesser threat, such as a slow-to-maneuver great horned owl, warranted only 2 D notes at the end. So if there's a lesser threat, or if the chickadees think the owls is just like slow and it's not going to get them very fast, they alert themselves with 2 D's at the end. So their call will be chick-a-dee-dee. And a greater threat, such as the northern pygmy owl, elicited an emphatic 5 D's. So the northern pygmy owl is the top predator of the chickadee, and so they're pretty fast, I think, and I think they have good eyesight. I haven't researched about them, so I think they're pretty cool. I'm probably gonna cover them in another episode. But yeah, not getting sidetracked there. If the northern pygmy owl is trying to get the chickadee, it's gonna elicit 5 D's at the end. So their call will be chick-a-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. I'm sure the chickadees can do it much sweeter than me, but just trying to mimic their call there. But yeah, I feel like that's very cool, and this also kind of influences other non-species companions. So during the non-breeding season, chickadees often associate with other birds in mixed species flocks. Wow. I feel like that's very cool. That's something I've never seen birds do, just kind of go to other birds and kind of be like, hey, you want to be my friend now? So yeah, chickadees kind of do that, I guess. And that kind of alerts other birds to their alarm system, alerts the red-breasted nuthatch, for example. And the red-breasted nuthatch respond more vigorously to the 5D alarm, and they kind of alert their own species, and now all the birds are alerted. And the pygmy owl doesn't get any food. So yeah, this is the most sophisticated alarm system in the avian world. Wow. Who knew that these little fluffballs can create the most sophisticated alarm system? Yeah. So before moving on to our 6th fact, I am gonna take a sip of my green tea here. It's pretty early in the morning, so my voice is still getting activated. So, yeah. So our sixth fact, aside from the famous chickadee, they also let out a phoebe. So there's something cool about this phoebe call. It's mostly used by males to attract mates and claim territory. This call is often referred to as the chickadee's spring song and is a 2 or 3 whistle sound that birders sometimes describe as "Hey sweetie" or "Phoebe." Ooh, that's kind of cool. So this phoebe call is kind of different, and it's usually used by male chickadees to attract mates. I feel like "Hey sweetie" is just an interpretation of the birders. They kind of thought that the phoebe kind of sounded like the chickadees were saying "Hey sweetie" to their mates. I feel like that's kind of very cool, and we can like make up a whole story about it. Maybe, yeah. So both males and females can also make a faint version of the phoebe song when feeding their young. Oh, nice. So they kind of sing this song to feed their young, and kind of calm them, I feel like. So, moving on to our seventh fact, most chickadees are non-migratory, so you'll often see them in your feeder in the winter. This is notable because they are said to need 10 times more food in the winter than in the summer. So chickadees need more food in the winter because their metabolic rates increase to generate enough heat to survive during the colder temperatures. So if you see chickadees in your feeder, make sure to put some extra food in there because they need a lot of food in the winter. So it's said that they routinely consume more than half of their body weight per day in winter. And also during short winter days, the rate of feeding is speeded up, and they store food as fat, which provides enough energy to survive while sleeping and fasting through the long, cold night. So it seems like the chickadees kind of just eat how much ever they can during the day, and then they kind of fast all throughout the night. So winter nights can be pretty long, and this kind of food or fat that they store helps them survive through the long night. I feel like that's kind of a cool tactic. Sometimes we don't pay attention to birds or what they're doing. We just listen to their chirps sometimes, and it's hard to go like look for them, kind of fly away. But I feel like they have this whole kind of life in secrecy, and I feel like the people that are learning about them are just having a lucky time there, kind of knowing all their secrets. So yeah, moving on to our eighth fact. I'm gonna take a sip of my tea here. Yeah, so moving on to our eighth fact, the black-capped chickadees and the Carolina chickadees overlap in parts of the United States and are very difficult to tell apart. So as I told you, the black-capped chickadees and Carolina chickadees, they look so similar, and they're often kind of mate with each other and create hybrids. Ooh, that's kind of cool because I don't know how the hybrids look like. They probably just look like the same, probably look more like a Carolina chickadee or more like a black-capped chickadee. But it is said that the hybrid chickadees are found to have a weaker memory, which can affect their survival in harsh conditions. So that's kind of, I think, like a drawback for the hybrids, but I'm sure there's other cool things to them too. Moving on to our 9th fact, chickadees are known as hoarders, but in a good kind of way. So they hide seeds and other items to eat for later. According to Cornell's All About Birds, they hide each food item in their different spots and can remember thousands of hiding places. They don't keep all their eggs in one basket, so to speak. So I feel like this is one more kind of memory thing for the birds. They just remember everything. The hummingbirds remember whatever flower they visited, and the chickadees remember thousands of hiding places. So that's kind of cool. I wish I had that kind of memory. I'll be getting good grades then. Yeah. Moving on. The chickadees let neurons containing old, useless information die and allow new ones to form so they can adapt to changes. That would be like us forgetting old phone numbers to make room for new email addresses. I did not know that birds can kind of control their neurons and let them die. And they can also sort information as useless. Sorry, I just had to drink my tea there. So yeah, that's kind of very cool. I would probably research more about that. So I think that's one way they adapt to changes. They kind of, if they're in summer, for example, they just kind of let all their memory die, like let all their memory of their hiding places die, I guess. And then for winter, they start again, and then they make new hiding places and kind of remember them. I feel like that's really cool. That might be the coolest fact in the whole episode for me. Moving on, we have chickadee nests. So there are no particular like nests that they build, but they kind of are cavity nesters. They typically select sites in rotten parts of trees, such as stubs, snags, and rotted out knot holes in forests and woodlands. So they kind of live in the trees. Sometimes they even inhabit old woodpecker holes and also just nest boxes that people keep out for them. But when they're going to breed or when they're going to lay eggs, the female kind of makes a nest with moss, inner tree bark, and soft grasses. And she lines the nest cup with a soft layer of animal fur to construct the nest. So they also use animal fur, which is kind of understandable as they live in the woodlands or the woods, and they probably see a lot of shedded animal fur on the ground, which they probably pick up. Hopefully the fox doesn't come back looking for its fur and find a chickadee clutching it between its beak. And yeah, that wouldn't be very good. I don't think that would end very good. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Chickadees, I think they'll take care of that. They're pretty secretive. So they live in cavities, and they make this nest inside the cavity, and they usually keep it deep, typically like 5 inches deep into the entrance hole. And the female builds the nest, and she lays about 6 to 8 eggs, but she lays 1 egg each day, typically in the morning. I don't know females can control when they lay their eggs. I mean, they are laying the eggs, but I just feel like they just come out whenever they want for other birds. But I feel like chickadees, they can kind of control when they lay their eggs. which is very, very cool again. And for the chickadee nightlife, I always find nightlives of birds is just so fascinating to just see what they do at night. So chickadees are diurnal as well. They feed during the day and rest at night. They seek shelter in various areas such as tree cavities and dense evergreen groves to keep themselves warm and safe. And to conserve energy, chickadees can lower their body temperature by 12% at night, a process known as nocturnal hypothermia. Sorry, I had to take a sip of my tea there. Anyways, so they can lower their body temperature by 12%. That is just so cool. I feel like some birds do that just to conserve some energy. And this is known as nocturnal hypothermia. I forgot what hypothermia means. I think it's like lowering your body temperature in this context. So this allows them to lower their metabolic rate as well. And on particularly cold nights, they can lower their body temperature from 106 degrees Fahrenheit to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That is like a huge difference there. So that's kind of cool to kind of learn about. Chickadees usually sleep alone, but sometimes they might sleep clumped together for warmth. They also fluff their feathers to trap warm air close to their bodies, providing additional insulation. Oh my god, now I want to see a sleeping chickadee with its feathers all fluffed up. I feel like that's gonna be like the cutest thing ever. I feel like I want to see that right now. So yeah, I feel like that's something cool that they sleep with other, like probably family members or friends, which is just to keep them warm, which is very necessary. And their scientific name, the black-capped chickadee, scientific name is Pocile atricapillus. Sorry, I just moved on to my next fact without any warning. So yeah, now we're learning about the scientific name of the chickadee, which is Pocile atricapillus. And this belongs to the Paridae family. Chickadees are kind of least concerned. They're listed as least concerned. I think they have a good population and a growing population. Not many people hunt them. They just kind of roam around in forests and have a good life, I guess. So yeah, their name is derived from Pocile, meaning variegated, and atricapillus, meaning black-capped, referring to the bird's distinctive black cap and white cheeks. So I think variegated kind of means distinctive. I didn't look up the meaning I wanted to, but I forgot. And black-capped is atricapillus. Ooh, I'm learning a lot of Latin words here. So the scientific name was first described by Carl Linnaeus in 1766, and since then several subspecies have been discovered, such as the Appalachian black-capped chickadee and the Yukon black-capped chickadee. So Carl Linnaeus kind of named the chickadees, I think in 1766, which is so long ago. And then they kind of found all these other chickadees and named them similarly. So I think that's it for today's episode. Chickadees are known for their charming personalities, distinctive calls, and just like the joy they bring to birders and nature kind of enthusiasts. these small birds are celebrated for their sociable nature. So turns out chickadees are not very secretive. They're just secretive about their hiding places, but they are very sociable. They're we learned about them being with other birds sometimes during the non-breeding season. Their adaptability, which is totally understandable because they have all these cool adaptations, and the lessons they offer in embracing life with curiosity and resilience. So I feel like chickadees, they don't migrate, so they kind of adapt to everything, like any conditions, and I feel like they are very wise. And that's the thing about birds. We don't know that, we don't know what they do most of the time, but they do a lot. And I feel like they are, if we learn about them, we get to see how unique and smart they are. So yeah, chickadees are just, for me, they're just little fluff balls on branches. So yeah, I feel like their adorable nature is the most important for me. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope this helped you relax or just wake up and listen to some bird facts. So if you want to leave a review on this episode, please feel free to do so. I would be very happy to read them. And if you want to message me in Instagram, it's early_bird_weekly_podcast. I wanted to find a smaller username, but everything was taken, so that's what you get. So yeah, please message me or leave a review, and stay tuned for more episodes. I've only just started this podcast, so there's probably going to be a lot more coming soon. So goodbye.